Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I usually pick a story by something. I usually think that something that gets my attention, a story that grabs my attention, will usually get your attention and usually get my, I'll get views. I'll be honest. A lot of times, when the story deals with like an altercation or some kind of physical interaction, anger, it gets a lot of views. It gets my attention. I'm a guy. I've been in many altercations. So I'm going to talk about what happened on an American airline flight in Tampa, at the Tampa International Airport. I have been to the Tampa International Airport. That's another coincidence with this story. There's several ways to approach this story. I could look at it with the anti-Semitic content. It's about an airline passenger that was obviously intoxicated. This is another takeaway from this video. It's just not a good idea to drink on a plane. I don't drive, and I haven't had a drink in 17 and a half years, but anytime there's a problem on a plane, I'd say 99.9% of the time it has to do with somebody that drank too much alcohol or drank any alcohol. So drinking, I'm looking for takeaways from this video, in other words. Now, this man, I'll get all into the specifics in a second. This man spewed a lot of rhetoric, anti-Semitic rhetoric, and I was thinking about taking that approach. Anti-Semitism, what's going on in Israel, what just happened in Moscow at a concert event yesterday with over 60 people being lost. And I was thinking of taking it from that, how to approach this story. But I'm going to take it from a little lighter side. Some of the stuff I've learned, the takeaways from this incident. One takeaway is how right-wing media tends to use inflammatory rhetoric. All right, and I'm talking about the New York Post, because I noticed when I do a story here, I go through I'd say usually at least 8 different media sources. I don't look at just one source. If you look down below, I usually list at least 5 different sources for the story, because I found out, I've discovered that different media outlets will give different facts, different views, sometimes widely different views of what happened. And I noticed a big difference with the New York Post. I'll get into that in a second. The other takeaway from this is, I am not bragging. When I do a video like this, I've been in probably over 100 altercations in my life. I've had my nose broken more than 2 times. I've had it fixed 2 times. I've had it broke more than 2 times. The bones in my face, my fingers, my arm. I've been in a lot of altercations. And the takeaway from this is never talk smack. Never talk smack. If you need to use physical energy, if you need to get physical, just go all in. That's the only way to approach things. So, all right. So let me start at the beginning here. Let me tell you the story of what happened on this plane. All right. So this 29-year-old man, Shail Patel. Now, I looked this up because I was curious, because this guy talks about blue-eyed white devils, and he uses anti-Semitic rhetoric, and he's dark-skinned, and I was trying to figure out, I figured he was from somewhere in the Middle East, and I looked up, the link will be down below, where the name Patel originated, and it originates in India, in a part of India, the Gujarat, the state of Gujarat in India. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So I'm guessing, chances are this guy is Indian, or from India. And the reports are that he was drinking when he got on the plane. He was belligerent. He delayed the flight up to 30 minutes. Apparently he slapped somebody's hand. He slapped somebody's face. And you can actually, in the video will be down below, you could see where he finally sits down, and then he uses a very 4-letter, beginning with K, anti-Semitic word, and the airline steward stops, and you see people's faces just go like, snap back when he drops this word, and then he gets up, he starts talking smack, the 29-year-old man, the 29-year-old man. And another man approaches, and he says, yeah, let me talk to you up in front. Turns out this guy's a cop. He's got like a blue hoodie on. And it turns out he's a cop. And Mr. Patel starts to talk smack to him, and he kind of pushes the cop, and the cop just goes all in and gets him in a headlock and just starts screaming, I will universally, publicly mess you up, cuz. That's what he says to this dude. And you got to kind of like this, like he's just had enough of this, man. He's got the dude in a headlock, and he's like, walk, and he's just screaming. And then a lady with a baseball hat. Both of these people claim to be police. The guy that got him in a headlock with the blue hoodie, you'll see if you watch the video. And he's escorted off the plane and arrested for making threats. Here's the thing I noticed. There's only one media site. I talked about the New York Post yesterday. It tends to be a right-wing, inflammatory media site. And this is the only one that had this report. They used it in the headline. I'll put the link down below. Apparently that this guy threatened to take down the plane and talked about blue-eyed white devils. All of you blue-eyed, he said that, this Mr. Patel said this, that all you people are mainly white and you're ganging up on me, and I'm just trying to get back to my home country and you're making it hard for me and all this other stuff. But a lot of this, I think, is alcohol related and stuff that's probably built up through his whole life. He had too many drinks and it all comes spilling out, unfortunately, all over these passengers who are just trying to get to Philadelphia. I found it interesting that the only media site that, the New York Post, they use this right in the headline, about taking down the plane and in Philadelphia, which is right near New York City, where I am here, and we still have very very clear memories of 9/11 and everything. And, they use this right in the headline on the New York Post, taking down the plane and blue-eyed white devils. They're the only one that reported this out of the probably about at least 8 different media sites that the links that I'll have down below. They're the only ones that mentioned this. I didn't see it in any other reports, so I don't even know. When I just see something in one media site, I kind of question the validity of it, and, but because it's not in the video, I didn't hear that in the video. Okay. The other takeaway from this, don't talk smack. This is one thing I've learned in my life. When I was younger, I was a young guy, macho. I'm tall. I was 6'4". And there was times when I would get, I'd get angry and I'd get in somebody's face, and I'd push somebody, and we started talking, F you, you got a problem, and I learned you don't do that. You either talk things out, or if you have to, you go all in physically. But there's no, talking smack like this is never a good idea. And it's obvious in this video, because that's what Mr. Patel is doing here. He's just angering everybody. And, and the cop just takes things, takes it to the next level. And I got to say, the cop used some nice moves with the blue hoodie, because Mr. Patel almost gets him in a headlock. And the cop just kind of slips down and out of it and comes around behind him and gets him right in a chokehold. And then I see he's got his fingers applied to this guy's throat, and he's just telling this guy, "Why?" And the only thing is the way this guy is. I would do the same thing. I'd be screaming at this point too, like the cop was. But it seems almost a little out of control when you're watching it from another point of view. The way he's just, screaming, walk, the cops, he's just the screaming. A lot of times I've found personally, like there's been times after I've been in a situation like this and I've just kind of whispered in somebody's ear, I'm gonna mess you up, dude. And it kind of freaks with people more. Sometimes using just, when you whisper to somebody, you got to be careful though how close you get to somebody's, with headbutts and stuff. One of the incidents I remember when I was younger, I was roller skating. I probably talked about this before. I was about 15 years old, roller skating. And some guy came close to me, and I went up to him and I started talking smack, watch where you're going, blah, blah, blah. And the dude just hauled off and dropped me and broke my nose. Not only broke my nose, but broke my face bones with one punch. And I was on roller skates. I went flying backwards. I had to have my nose re-broke. Turns out this guy was a black belt, and he also involved in a gang. And I didn't know who I was talking to. I was like, you got a problem? And this guy was quiet right up until he wasn't. And he just, one punch, just broke my nose, broke my face bone. The doctor said my eye might slip down into my cheekbone because the orbital bone here was broke too. One punch. So this is stuff I've learned. You don't talk smack. If you need to get physical, you go all in, man. There's no pushing. Never. That's one thing I've learned. Never push. Never say, oh, you got a problem. Stuff. Don't do that. You either talk it out or you go all in physically. Another incident where I was on the other end of it. I was at a CVS after I left an AA meeting just about 10 years ago, and a big guy. There's two rows of people waiting to go to one cashier at a CVS. I'm in one side, and a guy comes up and he kind of makes his own line, and I've been waiting there for a while. And the person finishes with the cashier, and he just goes in front of me. And I was like, dude, I went up to the guy and I said, what, am I invisible? I was in line. And he turns around and he pushed me. And I regret doing this, but I just hauled off and dropped him. And subsequently, I got arrested and kicked out of the CVS for a year. But the point is, if you need to get physical, don't just tap somebody. If you have to do what you have to do, go all in. Don't just tap somebody and you got a problem, man. I always cringe when I see that, or I see somebody, got two guys go nose to nose, start yelling at each other, because I've learned you just never do that. Never. Because the person that you're doing that to, that you go up to somebody like that, and the other person is just going to go bam and headbutt you. Go all in or not at all, and just try to talk things out. And once you can't talk things out, once you have to get physical, go all in. That's the takeaway from this. Anyway, the links will be down below. Like I said, New York Post, kind of inflammatory, this white-eyed, blue-eyed white devils comment. I didn't see it anywhere else in like 8 other media sources down below. Kind of interesting how they like to inflame things. All right, I'll be back later with another video, you guys. Have a good Saturday.